Let's say you've been broken up with. So you write a sad song about who you got broken up with. Maybe not even expressing it exactly, just with the melody. And that helps you get through something painful. Or maybe you just had some really amazing news and you got some newfound hope in life. So because of that, you make a really hopeful and beautiful song. And then maybe one day you start thinking that your race is superior to others. So you just make a white supremacist song. What happened to us as a society for these many people to be involved in such witchcraft? As I was investigating for my previous video, I found out this very interesting subgenre of metal that I've never heard before. So as the curious little peeper I am, I checked it out and it was NSBM. At first I confused it for depressive suicidal black metal, but I was like, no, this has to be something else. So I looked it up. National Socialist Black Metal. In my country, socialism is kind of like a left. So I was just confused. I was like, what? What is this about? Do you talk about like social justice or something? Do you talk about the law? These people, mostly neo-Nazis. So I was a little confused. I was like, whoa. I continued checking it out and I was like, whoa, this is horrifying. Let's go. I looked it up on YouTube to see if anyone had ever made a video about this. I was assuming so. And what I found was some very unbiased takes about the subject. It was just purely informational. I actually got some really good videos which helped me understand the scope of it more. But I'm not an unbiased person. I'm very, very biased, in fact. Too biased, maybe. If you came here for purely information, I recommend you get out. But if you're so interested in my opinion, this is CORNEA-SAL and today I'm going to be talking to you about NSBM. Let's start with the very beginning. So right now you may be like, what is a black metal? Black metal is a subgenre in the metal subgenre that is basically like what people who don't listen to metal think all of metal is. It is characterized by satanic imagery and worship, I guess you could say. The occult, paganism, corpse paint. Satanic metal didn't start with black metal by itself. It was already a thing with Black Sabbath and Coven like in the 1960s. But they took inspiration from it and it formed a whole new subgenre. By the way guys, I play mostly horror games on my Twitch or metal based games. If you want to see me live, this is my Twitch. Oh, if you're too busy and you can't see me live but you're really interested, you can go see the VOD in my secondary channel. It's right away here. And if you want to support me to keep the channel going and to fund my show tickets, you can support me on Patreon where I also upload stuff of my daily life if you are into the inside scope of things. Also some demos. End of intermission. The band Venom in 1982 was a metal band who released an album called Black Metal, which basically had all of these tropes of black metal in it. In the beginning, it didn't have like a specific sound. It was just like basically all songs that had to do with blasphemy. But then it started getting this very characteristic sound, which is like a speed metal with very shrieking voices. At least what I mostly heard is all more high-pitched. Basically, what is prioritized is vibe and atmosphere over perfect recording. So some of these songs sound kind of chopped, but it's all about the ambient. So the people who followed Venom's footsteps were bands like Bathory and Merciful Fate, Hellhammer. They ended up popularizing the genre. One of the most popular black metal bands is one that I'm sure you've heard before, Mayhem. Their story has been said and repeated millions and millions of times, but I will make a small summary for you if you don't want to go into all of that. Basically, it was this black metal band which had this guy as the vocalist who was pretty much a real edgelord. Whatever you think an edgelord is, no, that guy beats them. He was cutting his shit on stage. He was rambling about not being from this world. He would dig up his clothes before going on stage, so they would be like more gross and like he was dead. And I believe he's the one who popularized corpse paint. I do think that this black metal aesthetic choice kind of does have to do with Kiss as like an inspiration, but I read that somewhere, I'm not sure. One day this guy was like, I'm done, and he shot himself. And this one guy from the band, Euronymous, was like, hey, you know what? This looks like a sick album cover. So I'm just gonna take some pics, if you don't mind, can't answer, and I'm gonna use them as an album cover. Barbicanes was like, I have it out for this bitch. Euronymous. Apparently the police already knew that he was gonna go kill him for some reason. They didn't stop him. And he drove up to his apartment. They tussled and he won. He killed him. Then he went to jail. He's still out there somewhere. I think I saw him on YouTube like not too long ago. He went to jail again, like at some point. Maybe put him back in jail. Alrighty, so before all this craziness happened, Varg was like, I actually want to make my own solo project. And then he started Burim, which does not have NSBM themes by itself. But we're gonna talk about him in a bit. He became really influential, burned like 8 churches. So he was also facing charges for that. Somehow, this guy fell down the alt-right pipeline at some point. There's just so much on this guy's record. So if you take a quick look on his Wikipedia page, you can find he got arrested not only for first-degree murder, which I just discussed, but also for having 150 kilograms of explosives and for inciting racial hate. He basically had a swastika flag back when he was a teen. He was part of the neo-Nazi skinhead culture back in the day. Anyway, why am I talking about this guy so much? This guy is a crucial part to what I'm about to explain now. National Socialist black metal is defined by having Nazi symbols, alt-right thoughts, white supremacy thoughts, and of course adding that to the pagan and anti-Christian beliefs of black metal in itself. An NSBM band. Okay, so first of all, what qualifies as an NSBM band? There are 2 different definitions. This is what you make of it. But first of all, there are NSBM bands, like for example Burim, that do not outright say anything about their ideology in the music, but they as people or as a band have expressed alt-right ideologies. And then there's the other kind of definition that says that it is vital for these bands to their ideology on their lyrics and stuff for them to be considered an NSBM. You can recognize an NSBM band usually by symbols. This is kind of dog whistling if it's the kind of band that is not going to be saying their stuff out loud. First of all, we got obviously the the German sun symbol, the silver cross sometimes, and the many symbols you can see that I'm going to put on the screen. Now, there is a counter movement to NSBM, RABM, which is Red Anarchist Black Metal, which is basically not alt-left, but what is considered to be the opposition to this. So all these artists are not aligned with that kind of idea. There's a subreddit, you want to check it out. So a lot of this stuff happens mostly on the underground scenes because, you know, for example, in Germany, it's illegal to do the Nazi salute in the street or in public for that matter. But these people do it anyway. They just do it in secret. There are also some record labels that are associated with this kind of stuff because if you're going to sign to your record label a neo-Nazi, I think it would make a lot of sense if you supported their ideals, because usually if you're someone who is not into that kind of stuff, you're probably going to deny being in contact or associating yourself financially at least with that person. There's also festivals held that have NSBM bands, and in a way this is kind of like a recruitment to get more. It's kind of like a social event for neo-Nazis. In the cover that it's all music, it's only for music. I don't know, maybe someone should look into that. But yeah, these events make a lot of money. Apparently they stopped a bit with the pandemic back in 2020, but now it's like going back up and it's growing and growing. What we got so far is neo-Nazism, racism, alt-right, paganism, Satanism. That's all. now let's get into the opinion segment of the video. Now that we all know what NSBM is and what it means, what it stands for, should you be listening to this? Now, it depends on how far you believe in art separates the artist. So personally to me, first of all, I don't listen to black metal in the first place, and this, all I'm gonna say, is personal. I don't like Satanism. I'm not exactly Catholic. I kind of have my own beliefs, but I am more in tune with Christianity. It just, I don't like the vibe of it, and I don't really like the sound of it. When I listen to, okay, so there are very few exceptions. When I listen to, whether it be grind or deathcore or death metal, I don't really like high-pitched voices. Like maybe once in a while, but I usually like really deep voices because it's just good to my eardrums, you know? I just think it sounds better to me. I'm not that particularly into speed metal, so you know, that whole area, I respect it, but it's really not my thing. So that's the reason why I don't listen to black metal personally. But then, even if I did listen to black metal, I really wouldn't want to listen to someone who's a neo-Nazi, you know? Even if they wouldn't be targeting me. I just feel like that whole thing of, well, they're not hurting me, so who's going to help you when you haven't helped anyone? What is this called? First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I'm not Jew, I'm not a person of color, but I still do think that these people deserve basic human rights like everyone else does, and that they shouldn't be targeted just for being something that they didn't choose to be, or for believing something. I think it's completely unfair and antique. And I personally just don't like that kind of violent people, bigoted people that think that because they're white, they're special. Even if they had the same exact characteristics, the same personality, the same upbringing, the same likes and dislikes, if they have been born black, all of your friends, all the people who share your opinion are going to fucking hate you and are going to wish the worst upon you. Is that really the kind of people that you want to be with? So even if I did like black metal, let's say some fire ass new metal songs come out, or like metalcore or whatever genre, and they're actually talking about how homicide is fucking awesome, then I'm not gonna listen to it just because it sounds good. There's just so much more to music to me than it sounds good. If you're not into any of this stuff, you're not a neo-Nazi, you're not into that stuff, you're just a normal person, and you want to listen to this because you don't give a fuck, then go ahead and by all means listen to it. But just have an idea to what you're contributing to. Because ultimately, if you give these people a platform and power, and if you give them listeners, then they're going to continue doing the thing they're doing, and the subgenre is going to keep growing and growing. But I'm not here to be judgy on you. Just go do whatever you want. You're grown. Then also, all this stuff that these people gather from music or whatever all goes back to a neo-Nazi organization. One thing is to be right-leaning or left-leaning, but really going to that extreme crazy ideology to me is insane. And I don't support alt-left either. It's not just with alt-right. I think that extremist ideologies are just going to tear apart a society. That's just the only thing that they're good for, controlling and destroying. So let's say you want to get into the subgenre, you don't give a fuck, you don't care about the implications behind it, okay, whatever. Just make sure you have your ethics stood by correctly, because otherwise you don't know who may be putting stuff into your head. It's going to make you a wretched person filled with hate, and all of the hate is directed at itself. It's not going to go to black people or Jews or anyone who isn't white. It's going to go directly to you. You're going to be holding all that resentment, and for what? For these people you haven't met. You don't even know their story. You don't even know anything about them. Now, and this is maybe a controversial take, I said this in the last video too, but I do think that free speech is free speech, and should these people be censored over having their free speech? I really don't agree with everything they're doing and saying, But as I have free speech to say all this on my YouTube channel, they have free speech and free will to be hanging around these groups and making their own ideologies and structured political organizations. Even if I disagree with it, and I believe most people will disagree with it, I think it's still their rights being exercised. The only problem being that they think they have more rights or they deserve more rights than other kinds of people. This was CORNEA-SAL talking about NSBM. Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think these people should be able to speak? Do you agree with them? Do you really disagree? Go ahead, say it, spit it all out. After all, this is the internet. I thought you have your full name on your YouTube account. Go wild. You think my opinion is stupid? Go ahead and tell me. And also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram for updates. This was CORNEA-SAL, and I'll see you.